Hello, welcome. My name is Haikern and I'm a music producer. I mainly make French house, pop, etc. Obviously, you can't find the French house on Spotify because that is copyrighted to death. Anyways, today I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can find samples for French house and how you can use this to your advantage. I'm just going to get straight into it today. So, how to find samples. These are the headlines I'm going to talk about. So we have your favorite genre, personality, creativity, knowing you've made the right choice. This video is for people that already have like a basic understanding of using a DAW. Personally, I use Ableton Live 12. I use Live 12 Suite. It's pretty effective in its audio manipulation. Anyway, let's keep going. So how do we find our samples? So most French house that you listen to is created by, artists sampling those 70s to 80s disco music. It's the same sound you hear every time. Yeah, it's like the most common genre that people sample for French house. So it's like everyone uses it. This is mainly because, back in 2001 and like the late 90s when people were actually coming out with French house, they were making these ideas with music like from like the 2 decades before, like the 70s and 80s. It's like 40 years ago now. Like, it feels awful to say, but music from 40 years ago, we can branch out. We don't have to. We're not limited by this disco music, and I'll get into a little bit more about that later. But for now, let's think about your favorite genre. What's your favorite music? So, what I've said here is, write down answers to these. So, if you want, write down the question. Be like, what music do I listen to? Answer, and then what is my favorite genre? Answer. So yeah, after you've answered those questions, now write down specifically like the songs that you like. Like, what are your favorite songs at the moment? For example, you could really love country pop, like the most obscure like genre possible. You could be like, yo, I love that song from Post Malone, Yeah, that was crazy. Post Malone is my favorite country artist. Or, like Ava Max is my favorite country artist. So, personality. We're moving on a little bit. So personality. So your favorite music informs your personality. It's quite literally like it's an extension. Your music that you listen to is an extension of yourself. Like if you say like you like musicals, you like listening to the crazy chord changes that they do in musicals. All it is just they're moving the bass around and it's like, whoa, that's crazy. So now we have to ask, how can you represent this in your workflow and music making, whether as a student or established producer? So the idea here is choosing a sample that kind of works for you within your workflow. Because if you have a connection to the song that you're sampling, you're more likely to have more success with it because you're tuned into it, right? You're just like, hey, like I've listened to this, my favorite song for so long, and like this is a potential sample that I could use. What if I use this point? What if I use that point? Rather than having to be like, hey, I've never heard this disco song in my life. Let's try and create something out of it. That works as well, but like at that point, what's the point? You're trying to. It's better if you make something from yourself and create it for others from within you. So again, thinking deeper, not just about what 4 chords you could use. The classic, Ed Sheeran's catalog is literally just C major, F major, G major, back to C major. Dude, like, come on, you know the 4 chords. Break out of that, okay? When you're writing your music, just like, the 4 chords have their place. It has their place. It is very effective in some songs, but in other songs, like, say like a beginner producer, I'm guilty of this as well. Like making the 4 chord songs, you make it and it just sounds absolutely garbage. Because you're not really doing anything with it. So like, try and stay away from the 4 chords because it's kind of boring. That's my personal opinion. And then with like this workflow idea, I'm also saying like all ideas are not inherently bad if you change your mindset. So rather than, you have this idea that you've just made and like you listen back to it the next day and it's like awful, it's terrible, right? If you think of it as like, hey, sure, this sounds bad, but maybe I should move on and do another project and say like you learn from that bad idea and you create something even better from that. So it's not like when you're making music, it's not like a linear like it's not like a success curve like that. It's like, hey, I made a bad idea. Hey, now I made a good idea. Then you're up, then you're back down. Right? Then you make absolutely horrible music and like your music career is dead. Anyways, so thinking of the bad ideas is just a step to the good song. So this also relates back to French house. You know, you're going up the steps to get to that next idea, and it's a good idea, but the next song that you do, you try something different. It doesn't really work, so you take a step back down. So you're going up and down the stairs, right? That's one of my favorite analogies. Right, next slide. You just like destroy that. So personality continued. So how our personality within our music, within our French house sampling, sure, it's a little bit abstract, but whatever. Thinking a little bit more deeper about it, right? So my inspiration, when I grew up, my parents never bought me a Wii. So I was stuck to just playing the Nintendo DS. I was stuck playing this bad boy, DSi. So no, my inspiration for a lot of the music that I listened to, or a lot of the music that I listened to, quite literally was from the DS, from the games I was playing. So what happened is this music, inspired me. And because it inspired me, I feel like I have a connection to that because, I grew up with that. So let's talk about video game soundtracks for a second. So like in general, like the different sound fonts used to create soundtracks for every video game is generally not the same. Each game is usually unique in their own different way. So that means there's so much potential for sampling because like you have games that use like the walls of like the Roland like pianos and stuff. You've got like all the Korg synthesizers, all these different sounds coming together. Like the Japanese going crazy in the studio. They're just like writing absolute fire and like submitting that to the DS and just like you listen to it for the first time. It's like, holy, like these guys are cooking like soundtracks that you would never hear like in the Western world. Think about the potential within that. So what I wrote here, unique instruments is the same as unique samples, which leads to more variety. You're not stuck or limited by the 80s, 90s stuff. You're open to all genres. You can do so much with that within French house. I will do another video where I'm making a song using one of these video game songs, and you'll see what I come up with. This is the best PowerPoint transition. I do not care what you say. The next header, creativity. So when you choose your sample, let's get back to you. So when you choose your sample, think of it as, you need to let the sample do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Choose a sample that, has bounce, has groove, has like, that funky music, like the disco kind of sound. That's why the 70s disco music works so much, because it has funk, it has groove, it has all this stuff like built into like the heart of it. It's like soul, right? Video game music also has that soul in it. Some of them do. And I can use that to my advantage. I can use that when I'm splashing up the different samples and putting them in like the grid or whatever, because it's doing the heavy lifting for me. However, you will come across some ideas or some songs that don't really fit this or doesn't really have a groove. So you got like the slow ballad that's just like really slow. You speed it up to like 134 BPM. You get it lined up to the grid and you just like splice it up. You can create your own groove from that. So like I recently sampled the Phantom of the Opera. I recently did like a little bit of a groove thing in that. It's not French house, like a beat, but I kind of did that by creating a groove with that in that performance video. So you're not necessarily limited by the track, and you will come across these songs quite a lot. Alright, sweet. Knowing you've made the right choice. So when you're making French house at this point in time, if you're say like beginning and you're just like starting to get into this world of like, making remixes and whatnot, don't worry about copyright, okay? Copyright is like this massive beast that's like gonna eat you alive. On all the platforms now, there's like these algorithms that are just like, hey, you use that sample from that song, goodbye. Kills creativity, to be honest. Kills creativity, but I get it, because like people don't want their work to be stolen. That's a whole thing. So I just said, unless you're established and with the music brand, then obviously don't make French house. Like make it, but like don't, monetize it in a way. As long as you're not monetizing it, it's probably the best. But obviously if you're using, say like, if your favorite music is like that obscure ambient dude on YouTube that's like grinding, doing the 9 to 5, and he comes home and does like 1 hour of like making ambient music a day, give credit, okay? Like it's not just like, hey, I'm gonna steal this song, like it's mine. Like don't do that, okay? Just like, yeah, just make sure you're giving credit where credit is due. So think of making this music as developing your skills as a producer for audio manipulation. So building a skill set with audio manipulation as well is very important. You can also, get experience working with audio. So like if you're in a recording studio and you're recording stuff, you can learn how to quickly like chop and edit like certain things, which is pretty cool. So yeah, transforming the sample enough that can be transformative. You don't want to just play the actual sample, right? You want to transform it. You want to make it something different, right? So, the level of transformation that's required, obviously not playing the exact same song, just pitch shifted and a drum added, for example. That's very important. Just making sure that, you're being safe with it and you're not, monetizing it and getting money off of other people's work. That's important. Anyways, continuing. Summary, we've reached the end. So, when you find your sample and you find your idea, trial and error is your friend. So, literally putting it into your workstation. I'll show you in my next video that I do how you can play around with these samples in a way that, you can do it. So like using your computer keyboard. Coming back to possibilities within sampling is endless, literally, because there's so many songs out there, like so many songs. And you have to be consistent with it and keep evolving. Like don't get stuck on that one idea, like keep going. But yeah, you will feel a stronger connection with the music you are making if you are using samples that already inspire you. Say like if you really love, Post Malone and his country song and his country discography of like one song, I think, then use that, it's like, give that a go. Even if you like really like the obscure 70s, 80s disco, that's fine. So just the way that you get music as well. The internet, like the internet, there's ways to get different music and whatnot. YouTube MP3, literally just like boom, done. But yeah, just always remember that the music that you create, it should reflect you. Try not to be someone else. That's the most important thing. Become the version of you that you want to be as an artist, as a creator. I think that's really important as well. And don't feel as though like that every bad idea is just like a reason to stop. It's a reason to keep going. In light of that, thank you very much for watching. The next video, I'm gonna make a series specifically for like how to actually make it, and I'm gonna go through the track one like bit by bit. But yeah, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the next one. We're gonna actually get into the nitty gritty. Anyways, thank you for watching. My name is High Crone, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.